Hello. Today is me only. Welcome to Istio Weekly. And what I'll do today is a little bit different from what we've done before. All the previous episode, we've either had someone on to do the presentation and the demo, or I prepared a presentation and a demo. But this time, I'll be suffering online. So I'll go and try to set up Istio with an external control plane. Now, originally, I wanted to do this completely live, meaning don't even read through the through the tutorial first. But I couldn't do that. I had to read through it, and it's good that I did because, of course, I ran into issues. Some issues I've solved, some of them I haven't yet. But let's see how far we can get in this 1 hour. All right, so why would you set up Istio with an external control plane? Well, you want a clean separation of control plane and a data plane. So you would have one cluster, we're going to call it external cluster, where you're running your control plane, and then you can have one or potentially probably more remote clusters, and that's where you're running your actual workloads. All right, so the instructions are here. Let me post this in chat if anyone wants to follow along. So I did read through this. Actually explains how the architecture looks like. So you have this external cluster with external STOD and a gateway, and then you have a single remote cluster. Even though there are instructions to set up more remote clusters if you want, right? And the idea is that this is the external control plane is something that the mesh operator does, right? And then the administrators the mesh administrator are the ones who are actually administering these remote clusters, configuring the clusters, virtual services, destination rules, gateways, and so on. All right, so what you'll need is two clusters with specific supported Kubernetes versions. So I'm going to use Google Cloud, and I'll just create two clusters here. Oh, wow, starting good. It's already failing. Let's reload this. All right, so we'll have, let me make this bigger a little bit. So I'll have two clusters. I'll call this one external. Let's say external control plane, right? This is the one that will be hosting the external control plane. I pick the zone west. And I'll just do 5, but I think 3 is more than enough. So this would be one first cluster. This will be our external cluster where we'll host the external control plane. And then the second one, we'll just call it remote 1, just in case if we're able to set up more than one cluster. We'll do 5 nodes here as well. Click create. All right, so while this is going on, it'll take a couple of minutes. So second one is the remote cluster. This is where we'll actually be running the workloads, right? Now, environment variables, there's a couple of them that you have to set. These are more of a, because we'll be switching between the contexts. So these two are are pretty important to set correctly, so you know you're actually deploying stuff in the correct cluster. I actually open Cloud Shell here. We'll be doing everything in Cloud Shell today. I'll do it this way. We'll open the editor later when we need it. Whoops. Let me know in the chat if the text is too small. I'll leave it like this, but let me know if it's too small. Okay, so we need the two contexts. So let's see while this is happening. Okay, I think we can actually already go and connect, even though the clusters are not ready yet. But we can already do this. So this will be the external control plane. And this will show a warning, right, because it's not up and running yet. And then we'll do the same for remote one cluster. Let's go here. Let's do this as well. I think I might have. Okay, so let's see. So let me delete this one. So keep CTX, delete. This is from my previous tries. Okay, so we have the two contexts that are automatically set. So let's do the external cluster environment variable, external control plane. Okay, and then the remote cluster is this one. Okay, so we have these two set. This will probably take a couple of more minutes to set up. Remote cluster name, I'm just gonna call it remote one. I think that's what we've called the cluster itself, but this could be whatever you wanted it to be. All right, so while the clusters are being created, let's just go through what we'll have to do. So the first thing we'll do is we'll set up a gateway in the external cluster. So we'll create this Istio operator that sets up the ingress gateway and these ports. Then we'll install this to the external cluster. So this will give us the Istio D, and it will give us the ingress gateway in the Istio system namespace, right? Now, the reason we'll have this Istio D here is, so this Istio D will only be there to manage this ingress gateway. The Istio D will deploy another Istio D in the external namespace. I think we're calling external Istio D namespace. And that will be the one where our remote clusters will connect to or call into to get the engine, to inject the sidecars and so on. So then we'll set up the remote cluster, but before we're going to set up the remote cluster, what we need is we need the actual host name. So we need to use a host name for the Istio ingress service for this guy here that we deployed in the external cluster. And we'll also need an SSL cert to set it up. So we'll have to do these things. I do have like a bunch of domains that I can use for this, and we'll go there in a second. So the clusters are ready. Let's just get pause. I think this is the remote cluster first, just to make sure that it works. Yep, so this is the remote one, and then if we do context equals CTX external cluster, should look exactly the same. Yeah, so we have two clusters up and running, and the first thing we'll do is, so let me create external, and just create a separate folder here. So I'll create this control plane gateway file, which is an Istio operator that configures the ingress gateway and installs Istio in Istio system namespace. We also need to install Istio, of course. So let's do that. I think I have some older versions of Istio, but let's get the latest and greatest 1.12.1. So let's download this one. Okay. All right, and then I'll just do Istio 1.12 bin. And just copy this one over. Istio CTL version. Okay, so 1.12.1. Let's go to external control plane. We have this gateway there. And then let's create, or actually install Istio. This will take a couple of seconds. Yeah, so spoiler alert, I hope we'll get this working completely by the end, but I got stuck all the way at the end. However, there is an issue. It's already logged on Istio's repo, However, I think we'll have to like reactivate that issue because it's not, it went stale. All right, so this is installed now. Let's just double check that we have, so we have the Ingress gateway, we have STOD, and the Istio system namespace. It's running. All right, so now the step for external Istio address and all these things. So I do have a domain. I'm doing it off screen. I'll tell you what I'm doing, but I have this domain called startcloudnative.com. And what I'll do there is I will create, actually, I can probably move this up here. So what I'll do here is, so let's get the IP address. Oh, this is the issue when working with multiple contexts. Okay, so we'll get the external IP address of the Ingress gateway in the external cluster. And we'll do a host called cp.startcloudnative.com, whatever you have, right? So we're just gonna add an A record for this guy. And what this will allow us to do is it will allow us to go to, I'm using 0SSL to create certificates. You could use Let's Encrypt and Cert Manager, but it feels a little bit more involved, and I just went with this guy because then I could copy the certificates and on the machine and do whatever I want with them. All right, so we'll do a new certificate, and my domain is cp.startcloudnative.com. 90 day is more than enough. Next step. Okay, and then I'll move this here. Actually, I don't think it matters if you see this. So we'll do the validation. So I'll copy this to the DNS records. We need a CNAME record, which is this guy. And then we're going to point it to this. And then we'll add this record. So what this is doing, this will allow 0SSL to actually verify that I own that domain. All right, so they're congratulating us. So that's good. So this will take a couple of minutes. And what we'll do here is for the external Istio address, we'll set the cp startcloudnative.com, right? So this is where our external Istio Ingress gateway will be available, right? And it's pointing to this IP address. Now, the next thing that we need to do, we need to create the SSL secret name. Now, let me find I took notes for this one, so there's a lot of docs in Istio, and the one that we need here is actually tell us how to secure the gateway. So we basically need to create a secret, right, like this. Call it whatever you want to call it, and then later on in these instructions, what was I searched for SSL cert name. There we go. So later, when we will actually configure the gateway in the external IstioD namespace, this is where we'll reference that SSL secret, right? So this needs to be in the external IstioD namespace. All right, let's see how the certificate is done. All right, perfect. Install certificate. I'll download the file. There we go. I'll just download it on desktop. I'll open it. And then we don't need this anymore. I'll close it and I'll upload the certs to, I'll choose the files. I don't think that's the one. It's this one. So I'll copy these three, the bundle, the actual key, and the certificate to external-cp. So I'll have these guys here. All right, perfect. Let's close this. So now that we have this, we can actually create a secret, and we're not gonna, actually let's just do the, we'll do that later anyway. So let's just say we're gonna call export. I'm gonna call this cp start cloud native credentials, right? TLS, right? Okay, so this will be the secret name that we'll use. We still have to create it though, but we haven't created the external namespace. So let's do it then once we get there. All right, so next step is to set up the remote cluster. So let's copy this. I can close this. All right, so this just created the remote config cluster YAML. Let me do it again, remote config cluster YAML. We're using the external profile. This will be the Istio namespace. And this is the remote URL, right? And this includes that host name that we've hooked up, and then the validation URL as well, right? So we have this, and then we can create the external namespace called, the namespace is called external STOD on the remote cluster. We'll do the same on the external CP cluster. And then we'll just generate the remote cluster config and then apply it, right? So this will create the custom resource definitions, the roles, and then the mutating webhook, right? Which is here, and it's telling us that we need to confirm that it's there. So we have the sidecar. So let's do this, get this guy, output YAML, just to see how it looks like. Yeah, so this one has the, like the URL, right, set up. One thing that we'll have to do here, and we'll get back to it, is we'll have to set up the CA bundle, because we have to be able to talk from the remote cluster to the STOD on the external CP cluster, right? And since we're using a SSL cert there, we'll have to do the bundle on the other side. Okay, so STOD on the external cluster, external STOD namespace on the external cluster. We also create the service account, and this is in order to be able to access the remote cluster to, as it says, discover services, endpoints, pod attributes, etc. And we'll use the create remote secret command, and then that will generate. Actually, let's see what this guy does. Oh, false, of course, right? Yeah, so this one creates the secret, and then we can just apply it to the remote, the external cluster. So this one created the Istio kubeconfig secret in the external cluster from the remote cluster. All right, and then we need to create the configuration for the external STOD. So this is just creating the file. Actually, let's open this in the editor as well. Open folder, external CP, open. What's the name of the file here? External STOD. Okay, so external STOD. I can zoom in this a little bit. Let me see if I can explore. There we go. Okay, so this is the Istio operator, empty profile, setting the root namespace, discovery address, right, which is the host name. We'll have to figure this one out as well based on the bug that's coming up later. And then this is just doing a couple of overlays, mounting the config, setting this to true, remote cluster ID, right? This is remote 1, that's the cluster name that we've set. And then the CA address and just the namespace and the name of the mesh, or the ID of the mesh rather. Okay, so let's deploy this to the remote cluster. I did get some errors here, I think. Yeah, so I don't know exactly why is this failing, to be honest, but I looked at, and it's the stats filter and TCP stats filter, the Envoy filters, right? So I wasn't too worried about this, to be honest, because it's just stats filters. It's of course important, but probably not for what we're trying to do. Just to make this work, that's our bar today. So let's see that we actually have the external, we have the Istio-D running in the external Istio-D namespace. So let me show you the all the pods. You'll just see that. So we have Istio-D and Istio system namespace. That's the one that manages the Istio Ingress gateway. But then we also have this external Istio-D namespace, and this is Istio-D here, and this is where the remote clusters will connect to this control plane. All right, and now we're at the point where we have to configure the gateway, right? And this is where we're referencing that secret name. So now we can go and actually create that secret. Let me just remember what we called it. Okay, CP something something. Okay, so create, and we'll have to create that one in an external D namespace. I'll create secret in external D namespace. We'll call it SSL secret name, and then we'll use create secret TLS. Let's make this look proper. So external Istio-D, external Istio-D. So that's the namespace, and then we use key to point to the key. That's the bundle that we downloaded from 0SSL, and then certificate.crt. And I made a mistake. So let's delete this. Of course, I made a mistake. Delete. What? Oh, external Istio-D. Okay, so deleted it. So the mistake that I made is I didn't reference the namespace, the context. So I have to do this in the external cluster. So let's do that. All right, so created. We have the secret, and now we can create this gateway configuration, which is gateway, virtual service, and a destination role. So let's do this. Let's open it in the editor. Explorer, and that's the gateway, right? So I'll notice that this is what got injected, right? And this is just configuring the Ingress gateway for this host, right, to use this certificate and key from that secret, right? And there's the virtual service configuration that just matches does the port matching and then routes to external Istio-D, right? Yeah, so let's do this, close this one, and we can go and apply the configuration to the external cluster. Go. Okay, so this created the gateway, virtual service, and the destination role. So if we do get gateway, should be only one. And then if we look at the virtual service, yeah, we have external virtual service attached to external Istio-D gateway and using cp.startcloudnative.com as its host. All right, so now that the Istio is up and running, Mesh Administrator only needs to deploy and configure services in the mesh, including gateways if needed. All right, so we're already, I was so happy once I got to this step. I was like, oh, we're almost done, but that's when the problems started. Okay, so I'll go here in the Istio, downloaded Istio folder because we'll use the Hello World and Sleep samples. So first we create a namespace called sample. We label the namespace for automatic injection. And then we create a service, create a deployment, and create two deployments basically, or three, right? So we have Hello World service, we have Hello World v1 deployment, and then service for sleep and deployment for sleep as well. Now, if we do this, so the next step was, the next step was just make sure that the pods are up and running and it's all good. However, it isn't, right? There's no resources found in the sample namespace. So next step was to get all the deployments. You'll see it's 0 of 1, right? They're not ready. Look at the replica sets. Desired 1, current 0, ready 0. Okay, so something is wrong. Let's describe the hello world one. By the way, it's the same error for the sleep one as well, right? And it's basically saying that failed calling, webhook, blah, 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 connection reset by peer. So the issue here was, what we need is we need to set the CA bundle in the mutating webhook. So wherever we did the mutating webhook configuration, so I was here. Let me just see something. Oh, look, I found an issue. So we have, and I thought I saw this. So we have the CTX remote cluster, right? Which is good. But then down here, I think I saw that, right down here. Remote, 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 remote. Wait, was I way too... I saw second cluster somewhere. Oh, it's here. Oh, okay, never mind. I went too far. That's adding the extra. As if there was a typo here. Anyway, it wasn't. It was just me. Okay. So mutating webhook, right? Mutating. Oh, it's here as well. Okay, that's why. All right. So let's look at the mutating webhook. This guy specifically. So we'll do get mutating webhook output YAML. So this one under client config, I think this is where we have to set the CA bundle. I think it was this one. Yes. So let's do, was it this one? Sidecar injection. So let's do, actually, let's open the root issue so everyone sees the. So this person also went through setting up the external control plane. They did use AWS, but it doesn't really matter. It's that they ran into the same issues. So so SSL secret name was the question, right? The first one, and then the significance of CA root CA and XDS root CA, pointing to some certificate. Down here, there we go. So I tried the above and the mutating webhook configuration that has an empty CA bundle, right? So this is what's, oh, actually, I know the first issue, actually, sorry, let me go back. The first issue that I saw is we had these, we had the resources in the external. Well, actually, no. Let's try the mutating webhook first. I think it was also an issue of referencing the secret from different namespace, but I wasn't sure about that one. Okay, so they did the config maps. CA webhook. TLS. Yeah, okay, so this is something that we'll have to do as well. Okay, in the Istio ingress gateway configuration, I had to patch the deployment. Okay, so I then modified the mutating webhook configuration in remote cluster. Let me make this bigger here. In remote cluster to include the base64 encoding of root certs in its client config CA bundle. So this fixed the auto injection of the Envoy proxy as the sidecar. So let's do this one. So we are on the remote cluster. And we do edit here. Actually, let's redeploy this. It's gonna be easier. So mutating webhook. So it was this guy. So let's generate this file. Wait, let's go to ext, external, what did we call it? External CP. And then remote generate remote config. Okay, yeah, so it was this one. Okay, so this is where we need to, so let's do webhooks.yaml. Okay, and then we'll open this guy. There we go. All right, and then over here, yeah, so see, CA bundles are empty. So we have to actually set this to the CA bundle we have here, to this guy, right? So let me do this. Let me get the base64 encoded version of this bundle. Do I have this? CA bundle. Oh, I don't have it. Okay, so let me, oh, actually I have it on the file here. So opening the bundle, open, encoding it. Okay, there we go. All right, so we'll do, this is the first one. Okay, we have it here. So this was the first one. Let's look at the others. There's another one. This. Client config, injection. Go. Next one. I think this was the last one. Oh no, there's of course one more. All right. Okay. So now we have this updated webhooks YAML file, and this is where we are here. So what we need to do is we just need to apply webhooks YAML, and just make sure that it is the remote cluster. Okay. So a bunch of stuff will be unchanged. The validator, the injector, right? Those will be configured to actually use that CA bundle, so they'll able to connect to the external cluster. All right. So we've deployed this one. Let's just double check. So this here. And then the thing that we want to check is deployment, sample. Let's see what's up with these guys. So let's actually delete deployments, these two, and then I could have just scaled them anyway. So let's go back and create these guys back again. All right, down here. So just recreating the deployments again. And then we can get the pods, I guess, and the sample namespace with the remote cluster context. Nice, there's nothing there. Let's look at the, let's see what the error is now. And I think I know, oh, describe. Yeah, there you go. It's the same thing. So I think what the issue here is, and I'm not sure, but let me try doing that. So if we, I'm gonna switch to this guy so I don't have to the remote. Sorry, to the external control plane cluster, so I don't have to type that context thing over and over again. So let's look at the gateways. So we have the gateway in the external Istio namespace, and I think this has to be in the, let's just put it in the Istio system namespace. I haven't, like, so it's not this one. Even though we have the root namespace here, which is it's so odd, it should work, I guess. But so external Istio D gateway. So let's edit that guy. So instead of this, let's do Istio system here, because that's where our gateway is, right? I don't think it shouldn't matter though, but let's do the same here. And then the same here. Oops. And then what we have to, so let's deploy this external Istio D gateway, and then we'll delete gateway this guy, internal Istio D, and then we'll do the same for virtual service Istio D. Okay, and then we have destination rule as well. I don't think this is the issue, to be honest, but let's just make sure that it really isn't. External Istio D. Okay, and now we also have to recreate the secret, but this time we'll create the secret in Istio system namespace. Okay, and I'll just delete the other one. That's this one. External Istio D, delete secret, namespace, external Istio D. Okay. All right. Let's see if this makes any difference now. I got further than this in my testing, to be honest. So that's why, okay, so let's delete the hello world. Replica set. Okay. All right. Yeah. See, that's what it was. So someone's watching and wants to open like a free issue on Istio or actually fix it. There you go. So as soon as we moved everything to Istio system, it started working, right? I mean, working. It's not fully working, but we're getting closer, one step closer. So let's also delete the sleep sample. Okay, and then if we look at them, so we have desired one. I do this. So desired one, current one, ready 0. So let's look at the pods. Yeah. So this is where I got to. I think I got further than this. So if we look at the logs here, so this is running. Let's see, describe. All right, so the readiness probe failed, which is, and this is basically the sidecar proxy is not starting up. That's what the issue is, I think. And then if we look at the external control plane, so let's switch to the external control plane and then look at external Istio D, yep, and then look at the logs from this guy, from the Istio D. So this is the Istio D, the control plane that's running on the external cluster. You'll notice that it's actually, let me see, where's should be down here, right? So it did recognize, right, hello world sample, right, and sleep dot sample, right? So it is connecting to it. However, it's not like the proxy, the sidecar proxy doesn't know how to talk to the control plane, right? And it's because we, based on this bug, what we need to do is we need to modify the Istio sidecar injector config map to include the mount configuration and the Envoy proxy sidecar template. So basically, whatever we did for the mutating webhook configuration, we have to do the same thing for the sidecar injectors, right? To basically say, hey, use this cert, right, instead of the other one. So yeah, so points 3 and 4, mutating webhook. We could customize the webhook configuration CA bundle. We can only change. Now this was in April. Maybe this has changed already. And the sidecar injection template to include additional external certs in its mount config for the pad SSL certs, blah. So CA, root CA, and XDS. So if I understand this correctly, these guys, right? So the CA bundle that we have actually needs to be this, right? It needs to point to this one. So how do we do this? What would be a good way to do this? And this is on the external, right? Yeah, it's on the external, but then gets injected into the remote one. So we have the secret created. So let's just create the. Let's see. See if I have anything in notes. I don't think I do. Yeah, this is pretty much how far I got. So let's do this. Let's see. Remote. Sample, right? Yep. Sample. Okay. Is there anything here even? So they have certs. Bunch of them. Okay. Oh, but this is CA certificates. Let's see what's in here. All right, bunch of stuff. So how do we? Let's go here and see. Let's see, we have 15 more minutes. If anyone in the chat knows how to figure this out, let me know. So they created a config map with the custom root certificates in the remote cluster. Okay. Then I'm not going to worry about this one. We fixed this one. I then modified config map to, let's see how we can do this. Similar to patching the deployment of Istio. Yeah, so this is the problem of Envoy Sidecar trusting the remote certificates and coming up, right? That's exactly what we need to figure out. So we need to put them, wait, sidecar injector. All right, so let's do some Googling here. Installing the sidecar, let's see what this says. Injection, sidecar injection enabled, okay. Controlling the injection policy manual by default. Okay, so, all right. So let's see what's in there. And this will be in external. And not Istio system. So we need this, but not Istio system, but the external control plane. So let's do, whoa, not what I wanted to do. Oh, that's not the shortcut. Let's do temp, just paste this here. So it's not Istio system, it's the external Istio D. So this will give us the inject config, inject values, mesh config, and then we'll see if there's anything we can do to update, change this. All right. So mesh config, yep. So that's inject values. Global, oh, so these are just the values. Okay, and then configuration. Now, of course, this is huge here. Config map. So this is the config map pretty much. Well, let's get the full config map as well. Istio sidecar injector. Sidecar config map YAML. Okay. Sidecar config map. Oh no. kubectl get output YAML. That's what I need. All right, yeah. So this is the the other two just extracts the thing. Yeah, values config map. Okay, so this is the actual config map. So modify config map to include the mount configuration in the Envoy proxy sidecar template. To include the mount configuration proxy sidecar template. So they've included, so let's do volume mounts. Let's do volumes. So workload certificate, bootstrap thing. Bootstrap override, no. Istio data pod info, no. Istio token. Istio CA cert config map. Okay, so let's see how this guy looks like, and then we'll do the same thing. Get config map. Let's see, Istio CA root cert. Get config map external Istio D. Istio root cert. Let's do output YAML, and we'll do the same thing. Okay. Oh, so it's just the data with the certificate. So let's do the same. So I created config map or a custom root certificate. Okay. And then I'm assuming is that the certificate or the CA bundle? I think it's the certificate. Let me see. Let me actually do this. Okay. Oh, it's actually certificate. All right, so let me do this here. So I'll create this off screen, and then what did we call it? What is it calling it here? CA certificates? Is that how we have to call it? Oh, it doesn't matter, I guess. I'll just call it. Yeah, I'll just call it the exact same thing as it's there. I don't think that's the right thing, but we'll see. So I'll copy the certificate. Okay. This namespace Istio external, and then we'll call this CA start cloud native cert, right? Don't need this, we don't need this. All right. Now I just create this. Oops. Namespace, external Istio D. All right. Okay, so I have the cert created, and now config map external Istio D. So I have this guy here, and then what we need to do now is, what did they say? Okay, to include the mount configuration. Okay, so now we need to mount that guy in, right? So just like we did it here, so I'll do this, but I'll move it out of this if. And then we'll call this, is there any name that we have to, specific name that we have to call it? I don't think so. Let's do CA start, whoa. This guy, so let's just call it this. Okay, so this will include this guy here. It will mount it in. Let's see if this is used anywhere else. Oh, okay, so it's mounting it there, but then we also have to mount the same thing, I guess. But under that path. Okay, so it's under var var, no, it's SSL certs. We'll call it, yeah, I don't want to call, well, let's call it this. Where was I? Certs. Oh, this is the mount path, but the actual name is this guy. Yep. So this is the name of the volume that we have here. It's roughly, it's all the same name. Okay. Config map here. All right, so let's see if we can deploy this. And this was sidecar. Let's go up here. Data. Sidecar config map. Assuming we can just deploy this, right? So I'll just remove. I think I don't need this. Now we can do remote, sidecar CM. All right, I mean, something happened. So let's see, let's try if this works. If not, we'll figure it out next time. Okay, so remote, get deploy, sample. I'll delete these, delete, deploy, sample, and then sleep, same thing. Oh, why did I do it again? Could have just deleted the could have just deleted the replica set. That's fine. 12, 1. Let's apply it again. Okay. External CP. Sample. Okay, so it's initializing. So let's see. Let's see if, I don't think it's gonna happen because I don't think we need to restart it. Oh, it's actually, no, it's the same thing. So that's fine. If we do, oh, but there's nothing there, I think. Oh, there we go, right? Yeah, so this is the actual issue. So, CI request failed, right? Yeah, it's failed to generate workload certificate, handshake, certificate signed by unknown authority. Yeah, so, using CA, so it's certs, okay. Yeah, I don't think well, let's just try this one last thing. I don't think it makes any difference, to be completely honest, but Istio D. Yeah, I'll just restart this one. I don't think it'll make any difference, but Istio D. Oh wait, wrong. Oh, well, yeah. Let's restart this one as well. This is in the remote cluster. External Istio D. And we'll do the same in the remote one. Oh, actually, that was the remote one. Never mind. Internal Istio D. And we'll logs if there's anything interesting in here. Yeah, so it can recognize it, and it does inject. I mean, it tries to inject the sidecars, but then the sidecar is saying no. I don't trust that thing. Let's delete this. Let's see. Oh, namespace sample. Yeah, no. All right. Oh, well, 1 hour is up. It's good that this was a timed exercise. Otherwise, it could take hours, I guess. Yeah, so it looks like we have to figure out a way to whatever cert the external control plane is using, that's the same cert that should be in the Istio proxy as well, so Istio proxy can trust it, right? And that's what we're missing. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. And this was the last episode for this year. We'll be back in 2022 with even more interesting episodes. You can go to istioweekly.com to check out the upcoming episodes, or look at the previous episodes, the notes, the demos, and the actual old videos, the streams that we did. And yeah, you can follow us, subscribe, ring the bell, whatever people say on YouTube. And I'll see you next year. Bye.